Hello, we welcome you, Dr. Mathews George Chunakara, new moderator of Commission of Churches on International Affairs of the World Council of Churches. We are glad to hear more today about the role of churches in peace building, about work for justice, and also about the next tasks for the Churches Commission on International Affairs. You're coming from the Malankara Martoma Syrian Church in India, and you have extensive experience in the ecumenical movement in various capacities in Asia and also abroad. And you also have worked with the Christian Conference of Asia, including the position of General Secretary currently. What are the key perspectives you bring with you to the work of Churches Commission on International Affairs?
Well, I have been involved with the work of the Commission of the Churches on International Affairs of the World Council of Churches during the past more than 20 years. The CCA Commission has a certain traditional role as per its bylaws and also certain historical and traditional mandates. This has been going on ever since the CCIA Commission was founded, even before the formation or founding of the World Council of Churches in 1948. 1946 onwards, this commission was involved mainly in the area of peace building, and over the past more than 7 decades, this process has been continued in various levels. And my own experience working from different contexts globally, not only just from Asia. Of course, we were at certain points when I was the director of the CCA, we were focusing mainly on peace and security in Asia, peace and security in Africa, peace and security in Latin America, and then peace and security in Europe, and peace and security in the Middle East. At least these 5 regions, CCIA took initiatives for more than 3 years to conduct studies, and also based on that, we were accompanying the churches, those who were living in conflict situations those days. But now, although this is the past examples, what we are witnessing today also is almost similar situations in many parts of the world. See, take the example in the Latin American context, this ongoing conflict in Colombia, this has been going on. And in the Asian context, this situation in Myanmar or Korean Peninsula or West Papua, or in the African context, it is Sudan or now in Ethiopia. And of course, Middle East, still the situation remains the same. And in this kind of a situation, through its member churches and also associate member councils of World Council of Churches, the World Council of Churches have as the role to play an important role, especially in terms of building capacities and also again motivating the churches to be involved in peace building and conflict resolution areas. So that task need to be continued, because as per CCIA's mandates, peace and security, peace and reconciliation, peace and conflict resolution involvement, that is actually a historical mandate, which is an ongoing mandate. And also several factors are now influencing the lack of peace in many contexts. And of course, analysis of the situation and also sharing of information and extending solidarity and accompanying churches in the people in a conflict situation, this role of CCA that needs to be continued.
Sure, thank you. For many years you have served also as a director of Commission of Churches for International Affairs, starting in the year 2000. In your view, how the world has changed during these last 20-25 years?
Yeah, the world has changed quite a lot, especially since the end of the Cold War era. Of course, during the Cold War, we were witnessing the bipolar system, and where the world's divided. At that time, the CCIA Commission played an important role, especially in the area of peace building, and also as part of its established mandate of developing this ecumenical diplomacy. The CCIA was very deeply involved. But then subsequently from from early 2000 onwards, that ever since this 9/11 happened, then of course many other conflict situations in especially in the Middle East, in Iraq and then Iran, and also in several African contexts and the Asian contexts and the Latin American context. But now again during the past more than a decade, the world is facing different kinds of crises. So our task is to ecumenically respond to some of those crisis situations that is being emerged in the world. And I would say that the problems have been intensified in various ways, and the CCIA identified the new issues and also tried to address those issues. One of the examples is about the issues related with rights of the stateless people. See, statelessness was not an issue WCC addressed before 2010. CCIA Commission in 2010 identified statelessness as priority concerns in different contexts. But now, over the years, that especially during the past 14, 15 years, statelessness emerged as a problem in a different context. Again, one of the other issues where CCIA identified its priority for programmatic involvement was politicization of religion and religionization of politics, which leads to conflicts, ethnic conflict, religious conflicts, and various kinds of conflicts related with emerging nationalism and also subnationalism. So our task as CCIA Commission is to identify some of these areas, newly emerging concerns and situations, and try to evolve programs and strategies to address this. That is actually the mandate of the CCIA, that is our ecumenical task, that is part of our Christian and prophetic witness.
Sure. Also, if we go back in history, Commission of Churches on International Affairs was founded right after the end of World War II. Besides what you just mentioned, what do you see as the main tasks of the Commission in the world today, as the war in Europe has just entered its third year? We see many armed conflicts emerging in other parts of the world. What do you see as the main tasks for the Commission from now on?
See, the Commission's task is mainly to work with the member churches, and also the Commission's role is to be involved in advocacy, especially at the global level, and also through the UN mechanisms and other multilateral systems or multilateral agencies, those who are involved in these peace building measures, and also sensitize the member churches to be peacemakers and peace builders in their local contexts. And in order to do that, the member churches, their capacities need to be equipped. So CCIA Commission has a role here empowering them and also equipping them and enhancing their capacities for advocacy at various levels.
And do you think churches today in the world are equipped enough, brave and prophetic enough to address injustices in the world, especially to speak truth to the power?
Well, there are variations in perceptions, because some people say that, well, the ecumenical movement and the churches are not vocal enough, especially raising their public voices as part of their prophetic witness. To a certain extent, it is true, because in a way that sometime we feel that whether the churches are losing the sensitivity, or churches are focusing mainly on some other matters instead of be the agents of prophetic voices, especially speaking to the powers and the power centers. But there are a number of reasons for that, because it is not so easy also in many places, many countries, the churches to be frank and open to come to the forefront of the civil society movement, because as we know that there is actually a shrinking space only these days for civil societies, and this is the case for the faith-based organizations also. And also persecution of religious minorities, when it is increased, churches also are very cautious in many contexts. And some situations, churches are powerless. They are in a very vulnerable situation. That is the reality.
Thank you. And finally, could you please share with us how Commission of the Churches on International Affairs will help and inspire churches in the world to stand up against injustices and work for peace?
Well, that is actually, again, as I mentioned, that is one of the main mandates of CCIA as a body of the World Council of Churches, to speak on behalf of the ecumenical movement, on behalf of the World Council of Churches. And CCIA's role is here mainly to facilitate some of these deeper engagements, mainly issuing statements, condemning the situations, and also accompanying the people and communities, those who are in vulnerable situations, and highlights some of those issues at the global level or at the regional level. Again, in order to do all these things, that CCIA has to take certain steps to equip its constituency, and more deeper engagement at different levels required these days to address some of these concerns, mainly to accompany the churches, equip the churches, and enhance the capacities of the churches in addressing some of these crisis situations, conflict situations, and also to initiate certain peace building measures as part of the church's Christian witness and their prophetic witness.
Thank you very much for the conversation. It was very appreciated, and we look forward. We wish all the best for your work in the Commission and inspiring churches around the world to work for justice and peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.